So my title of my talk is Strange Tools. And that is a reference to philosopher Alva Noe, who has said, "A work of art is a strange tool, an alien implement. We make strange tools to investigate ourselves." So, in contradiction to the previous talk, where the mathematician Hardy said that beauty is the first test, Alva Noe actually has said that art is not just about the beauty. It's not just about the making beautiful artifacts. It is something which can help us. It's a strange tool that can help us reflect, question, and even change our opinions and our perspective. Now, I have chosen two strange tools from my toolbox for you to present very briefly. The first one is the Arbus. So Arbus was a commissioned work by Helsinki Art Museum. It consisted of robotic self-driving bus and an audio soundscape which was inside the bus. And the audio soundscape came, you see in the image, there's this green environment, so we had real-time streams from that. So now the bus, what did the bus do? So the bus was driving, it was set to drive in the Kalasatama area of Helsinki. And if you stepped into the bus took over. So you had no control where it will take you, what route it will take, and no idea where it will leave you. So it had a mind of its own. Now, inside the bus, you were immersed in a soundscape, and a little bit more on this soundscape. I should mention probably that my interests are very much in this kind of convergence of technologies and biologies, and I'm looking a lot into the kind of how green environments, how us, and so on, how those meet and what kind of questions emerge from it. So the soundscape inside the bus, they are used in a base. The Bernie Krause, who is an American environmentalist who in 1980s developed acoustic niche hypothesis. And this was a hypothesis which said that in mature and good functioning ecosystems, the species communicate always in their own frequencies, so sound frequencies. In the white image, you see one of Bernie Krause's sort of a chart. You see the one frequency as insects, and then you see some maybe birds which are here and there saying in a certain frequency. And this, of course, was a survival for the species that they could find, especially if their biodiversity was very full, they could find their sort of mates and reproduce and so on. Now, in this work, what we looked, and now it's good to also realize that as the audio streams, the real time coming from surrounding areas of Kalasatama, what we as humans are doing, we are conquering more and more. So there's less and less species, less and less biodiversity, less and less species in the environment. That means there's less and less sounds. And what we did, we created this kind of a similar image of that environment. So we took a sort of a snapshot of the environment through the real-time streams, and our machine learning system was looking at that. It was detecting which frequencies are not used or where are empty spots. And it created new imaginary creatures for that. So in a way, in this work, you could hear these imaginary creatures that would actually, in real life, would have had a potential to live in the biological life. So, yeah, so in the bus inside, you hear both the biologies with the real-time streams, which are mixed with the digital species. In the next one is a short clip so you get a little bit sense.
The soundscape inside the Arbus is based on real-time streams. The starting point of these streams is the so-called ruderet area. This small green area, which is squeezed between the seashore and the ever-expanding urban construction, is an area where different species can develop and the ecology can change at its own pace. This area of greenery is left on its own to non-human organisms, away from the intentional control and organization by humans. The experience unfolds for the passenger through a mix of audio combined with a changing physical reality seen from the windows. The R-Bus project is exploring a scenario of the world in which artificial entities become intelligent and decide for us. These designed artificial entities mingle and blend with biological ones.
Okay, my second tool is a very different one, strange one as well. It's MFC. Some of you might recognize that, microbial fuel cell. And I had this history on wearable sort of artistic artifacts, and one of the big issues always with them is the energy and batteries and how you put them and how long do they last and so on and so on. And then I heard about, oh, there's a biobattery that totally took my interest. So here you see two images. One is from a science approach and one is artistic approach. And the artistic approach, which is this one, is my very first test on the microbial fuel cell. Here I made it as a wearable. I was interested of how can sort of a battery and the human be in symbiosis. So here the battery in a good scenario would produce a lot of energy. It doesn't, but it produces a little energy for the human, but also the battery itself needs the human movement to survive. So in this one, there is a soil bacteria, which is producing through shooting electrodes, and then they are collected, but it also has a cyanobacteria, which produces oxygen for the soil bacteria. And in this way, I could make it closed and it could be worn, because usually you need to leave openings. The other image on this side is a kind of science project where this is how they look when the scientists are doing. So this is a sort of a two-compartment system, and in this image there are tests about a membrane between these two compartments. And that has been one of the big questions in the sciences, that how much does that, can it improve or does it hinder the amount of energy you're producing? Now, then went some years and I kept my eye on this research, and I see suddenly that you can use urine for making a microbial fuel cell. Well, I got pretty thrilled. I'm sort of interested of working with liquids. And then the sheer idea that I could actually bring piss as a material to the art scene was quite triggering me. So I decided to build a piss-based microbial fuel cell. At the same time, I was invited to take part in a cultural capital, Veszprém in Hungary, an exhibition. And so their wish was that it should be sustainable, it will be placed in a hiking routes and so on. So then I thought that, okay, so I'm gonna develop a wooden microbial fuel cell. I have a piss as a fuel, the hikers can piss into it, and then it can produce energy. So it sort of all fitted, and this is at the end how it looked like. So this is on a hiking route close to the Lake Balaton in Hungary, and there's this white weird thing, and you could piss into that, and as there was no, of course, other power available, you could lift it up, and with the gravity it went to the piss storage. The battery pack you see, as they are usually made in a series, on the lower level, and if you were lucky, you could see some LEDs lighting up with that. And I should mention that with this work, think I was no longer so interested of how much energy it actually uses, even that's the interest, of course, in the science and very legitimate thing. I was more kind of interested, okay, so how does this work? And do they actually pee into the pot? And it apparently worked very well. So there was constantly enough sort of a fuel in the storage. One learns a lot of things when one works with this kind of, and one of the things I learned in this is that human bodily fluids are your property. So under EU regulations, I should not be doing that. So in the tree you see the white big sign, and that says, oh, this is a research project. If you want to take part of the research project and piece into this storage, you give a consent for it to be used. And if you don't want to, please piece somewhere else. Now I will just go kind of, this is usually in the beginning, but I'll save this at the end. Kind of a larger image of my research has been on human-nature relationship. And there is this kind of myth with the Finns that we are somehow having stronger this relationship. I'm not always very convinced, but that has been a myth. So now the question I think I have had many years is, when humans are enhanced with technologies, are they on you or inside you or so on? So is the environment. This must change, this relationship. And this has been kind of on the base of many of my works until recently. And now, what I think, things are changing. And this is a slide, and it's not finished slide. I stumbled across an article by geographers Ellis and Raymond Cutty, and they say in that article that humans are no longer disturbing the natural environment. And that is because now we all live in a human system, and we only allow natural environments to be inside that human system. So we decide what is allowed. We also make a lot of markers for the future and decide what kind. That's why the broiler chicken is on the image. So this is something I'm very working on at the moment as a kind of baseline, that what is this human system, this dominant system that the whole planet is changing with that. So at the very end, back to the Alva Noe, and he has sort of pointed out how art, similar than philosophy, can be a critical tool. So art doesn't just express or depict, it compels us to reconsider how we perceive the world, our habits, and our understanding of reality. Thank you.